Welcome to Faith at Work, the podcast where we inspire and equip professionals to live out their Christian faith in the workforce. Whether you're navigating leadership, balancing work-life challenges, or looking to make a deeper impact, we're here to equip and guide you on how to bring your faith into work. Now here's your host, the director of the Unity Foundation in Alexandria, Minnesota, Kelsey Tim.
Today's episode features a conversation with Peter Nelson, president of the Unity Foundation. I invited Peter to share his heart for the mission of the Unity Foundation, why he's passionate about bringing faith into the workplace, and what excites him about where we're headed. Before we get into all of that, Peter, can you start by telling us a bit about what you do for work and how you first got connected to the Unity Foundation?
Absolutely, and thank you for allowing me to be here today. For a long time, I was employed by Glenwood State Bank. And the last 29 years, I've played a lot of different roles and ended up as president of Glenwood State Bank. But recently, February, I switched jobs and started to work for ICBA, which is the Independent Community Bankers of America. And that organization is a national trade association that represents community banks all over the country. So just had an opportunity where a door was opened. I believe God opened that door, and I wanted to walk through it and see what God had in store for me to try to do something on more of a national level. Loved what I do, still love Glenwood State Bank and the role that I played, but just trying something new and trusting God to see where it goes.
Yeah, and that's not an easy decision to make, and it's exciting to see what God's going to do with you in that position too.
For sure, it was definitely a challenge to even make the decision, and months of talking about it and making sure it made sense for all the parties and the stakeholders, et cetera. But again, at the end of the day, it just needed to be more about God and less about me, and just trusting what He had planned for me. And it's interesting because I would say the first 100 days, I kind of had my moments of what am I doing and why did I do this? But now in the last couple of weeks, I'm starting to see maybe there's some reasons why I was there, and some opportunities where hopefully I can add a little value to the community bank industry, and it feels good. So I'm excited for where I'm at.
That's great. Well, Peter, tell us, how did you first get connected to the Unity Foundation? And how many years? I couldn't remember. I don't even know if you remember when you first really officially came on board. I
don't remember the exact date. I do remember the moment, but it's been, I'm sure, over 15 years. And there was, the group was up and running, and they were looking for some additional people to participate, and they had a breakfast at the Holiday Inn, and they just explained what they were doing, and I just instantly fell in love with the organization. I've always had a strong faith, but I certainly love what I do, and what really resonated with me was being able to carry out my faith in the workplace and not have to segregate it. And so Unity Foundation is all about that, and so it just really hit home for me with an opportunity to take two things I'm passionate about and combine them on a daily basis. So that's where it all started back, however, I think 15 years ago. Vern Anderson and Tim Cullen and Tom Schabel were instrumental in putting that group together, and I raised my hand and said I'd love to be part of it, and it's just been one of the greatest blessings ever since.
That's awesome. So in your own words, Peter, how would you describe the mission and values of the Unity Foundation?
I think it's, faith in the workplace in a simplistic way. But I think what resonates with me is surrounding yourself with people that also want to have faith in the workplace. It makes you bold to be able to do the things that God wants you to do, and you're not alone. It gives you some resources to be able to give you some tools, things of that nature, to be successful in putting faith in the workplace. And I guess it's in a maybe more simplistic form. It's not segregating the two. It's bringing them together and letting them, work off each other in one place.
Mm-hmm. And how about our values for the Unity Foundation? What are some of those?
Values. Excuse me, servant leadership, integrity, prayer, passion, mentorship, and relationships are the values of the Unity Foundation. And I think servant leadership is one that resonates with me more than the others or the most. And that's just serving others. And that's what I think leadership is. I think leaders are one that gets obstacles out of people's way and encourages them and is a cheerleader and just allows each person to blossom into the great human being that God created him or her to be. And that's what I think leadership is, and a servant leader certainly is one to serve those that he or she leads versus the other way around. And I've had that feeling my entire life, and so that's one that just definitely resonates with me, and it's certainly who the Unity Foundation is we're here to serve others, not the other way around.
So, Peter, I think a lot of people are familiar, if they've lived in the area, with the Faith at Work lunches, but I think sometimes people get lost at, well, what do you guys do? So for someone hearing about the Unity Foundation for the first time, what makes the Unity Foundation unique compared to other faith-based organizations?
There's probably a couple of things that come to mind, and certainly the focus on the workplace. There's a lot of ministries that focus on other areas outside of the work, but there's definitely a direction of let's make sure we continue to not take our eye off the workplace. When you think of biblical stories and just the Bible as a whole, most of ministry happens in the workplace, and so we know that that's a place where it can and should happen, and we don't want to take our eye off of that. I think the other thing is what's been fun for me is just where businesses that maybe would look like they compete, they come together because they share the value of Jesus. And they realize that it's not about me, it's about we. And they realize that there's a bigger picture out there and that we actually all are on the same team. And so we have many people that are on our board and actively involved with Unity Foundation. And they compete, they compete with each other every day. They compete with each other for, the customers and even employees at times, but that never comes up because we realize that, no, we're on Team Jesus, and therefore we're all on the same team. And I just love that mindset of, the bigger picture of what's happening here.
Yeah, that is really unique, actually. It's manufacturing, healthcare, banking, that's the representation on the board, and you don't ever get that vibe from any of them, which is really special. So, Peter, what made you want to get involved at the board level and then eventually take on the role of president, which you are, I guess we could technically say, a year and a half into your presidency?
Yeah, I guess that's an interesting question, probably one that I have not really thought about. It evolved. I was asked to participate on the executive team, and I guess I felt it an honor to be able to do it. And you think about some of the people on our board, and I have just the utmost respect for, just super talented individuals, super talented at business, but just good human beings. And so to be surrounded by those people and being asked to be part of a leadership team was fantastic, and certainly wanted to honor that request and walk through that door, I guess. And so I guess it just evolved from there. And as this organization is 20 plus years old, and so there's a rotation, I will say, of leadership, and there's some maturing going on, meaning some people are moving off the board, and that left room for some younger people to come on. And so as that leadership transition happened, I was able to be part of it, and just wanted to maybe bridge that gap of making sure we kept the foundation and kept what the initial focus was and the legacy in mind, but then evolve it into what's happening currently in our workforce, in our society, and to try to find that balance. So I appreciated the opportunity to hopefully fulfill that role and carry on what's been started.
Well, you're doing a great job, Peter.
Well, thank you.
So, Peter, what excites you most about the vision and direction of the Unity Foundation? Because we're kind of coming to this cusp of some new things coming, maybe doing things a little bit different from the last 20 years. Yeah, no,
it is exciting. I mean, I'm anyone that knows me knows that I love change and sometimes create change just for the sake of it. But I think it shows that what we're doing matters because it can continue to live on. And as things transform, as things evolve, when the core of what we're doing can still remain alive and well, then you have something. And it doesn't have to be about an event or a lunch or something like that. It's really what the core of it is. And the core of it is just great people trying to do great things together and further the kingdom, specifically within the workplace. And so what excites me about that is we've been able to add some people that, don't know the history and don't understand the legacy and bring in new ideas. And so we can evolve and we can meet meet the current worker, the current workplace where they're at today, because certainly in the last 20 years, things have evolved. Workplace is different, therefore workplace ministry needs to be different, and just how we lead needs to be different. And so when we can adapt to those changes and again, meet people from where they're at, that's exciting, because I believe we'll just be able to continue to carry out God's mission for us and purpose for us, and to let others know about Jesus.
Why do you believe it's important to integrate faith into the workplace, Peter?
Well, at the end of the day, faith is number one. There's a lot of things that vie for our time and our attention and our resources in our society, but when it all comes down to it, your relationship with the Lord is number one. I look at eternity versus time on earth, and eternity is a long time. I want to make sure we get that right, and I want to make sure we have given every other person the opportunity to have that same, the same opportunity for eternal life. And that relationship with Jesus while we're on earth is great, but obviously being able to spend eternity in heaven is really the ultimate goal. So, to me, to be able to take some time that is spent at the workplace, but still be able to carry out the Great Commission and share the story of Jesus, that just makes sense to me. It lets both like I said when I initially started this podcast, lets both my worlds come together in a very fun and fulfilling way, where I get to do two things I love, and they don't have to be separated.
Yeah, I think for some people that there's an intimidation factor that comes into play, where they have tried maybe to keep their faith and their professional life pretty separate. But I think it's pretty clear in the Bible that God's wanting us to live it out boldly. It's not intimidating. It's not like you're going to go to hell if you don't believe in Jesus. It's more by our actions and our words, right? And so on our website, we talk about how faith isn't just a Sunday morning thing, but it's an everyday thing. So for the person that's listening right now, that's like, okay, I really want to start living this out in my daily life. How would you encourage them to just start taking those baby steps towards not being afraid to be who God's made them to be in the workplace?
Yeah, great question. I think it would include for myself as well, but just incorporating God into some of the smaller things. And so sometimes if there's a decision to be made, ask God for help, prayer. We don't need to leave that for, well, I'll pray on Sundays, or I'll pray on Sundays and Mondays, or right before I go to bed, or right before a meal. For me, it's a continuous dialogue of, okay, God, what should I be thinking about right now? What should I be doing right now? And so that prayer, that continuous conversation, just allowing God to enter those spaces, to me, that's that's very personal. It's very safe, and it's just a way to have the right mindset when you're going into any type of decision. It doesn't have to just be at work. It can be any and all things you do. I have a mindset that, when it comes to being bold, well, maybe we'll get into that in a little bit, but just, so those are the little things you can do, I guess, is just having those conversations in prayer, and then not being afraid of being able to put your faith out there. I've never gotten in trouble one time in my life for sharing my faith and just saying who I am. And I think there's a difference between saying, well, this works for me, and this is what I need to do and want to do, versus saying that, hey, you have to do this. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what you were talking about is, you live your voice, you live your life in a way that maybe models it. It's not condemning. It's not telling someone they have to do it a certain way. And to me, that's, maybe that's step two after the conversations with God is just, being okay with saying, well, this works for me, and this is what I need. And like I said, I've never once had someone, question that, or, be concerned about that. And in fact, it's just the opposite. People are absolutely relieved that those conversations can happen, and people come alongside you all the time and just say, hey, that's pretty cool. That's awesome. I'm glad that you can share your faith. I feel the same way, and it gives them the confidence to maybe be a little more bold and share it as well. So that's kind of maybe the step two of that. Have
you found living out your faith in the workplace has also helped you in the sense of like hiring people? Mark Dieterding is a gentleman on our board, and he has written a book about that, his servant leadership and being a values-driven organization. I think that's something that has helped people that are living out their faith is to really figure out, their mission and values and then really live that out in the workplace. And maybe you don't own or run a business, but you can still personally have your own mission and values to help you make decisions that are maybe more Christ-centered than worldly focused.
No, absolutely. I think if, from, talking about values and just being able to know what they are and then articulate them, it'll attract people that, that appreciate that and probably have similar values. And and if people that maybe don't align with that, they'll find something else that works for them. And so, you just end up attracting like-minded, like-valued people. And that's, that can be in the workplace, but that can just be in life. And so if you can articulate where you're at with things and share what's important to you, typically those that appreciate it will want to spend a little more time with you and vice versa.
One thing that just came to my mind was maybe we need to do an episode on your rights as Christians in the workplace, the booklet that we have, that might help people kind of overcome some of those, well, what if I get in trouble? That might be a good idea too. Yeah,
it's a great idea. And I think there is a lot of fear of, I'm not allowed to do that. In the very simplistic sense of it all is you're absolutely allowed to have religious freedoms. What you can't do is say, well, you're not allowed to, not allowing someone to express his or her faith if it's different than yours. But there's nothing that'll ever prevent someone from being able to say, hey, this is what I believe. Mm-hmm. And that's where we sometimes get caught up. So you're always welcome to do it. It's legal. And, obviously, like you mentioned, when you do that, good things happen for those around you. Mm-hmm. Where I was going to go a little bit with the boldness where I, maybe stopped short was just, I have a saying in my mind, I'd rather get in trouble down here than get in trouble up there. And so if there ever is a little bit of resistance, which honestly I've never had, what's going to make Jesus smile? Mm-hmm. And it's obviously not being bold or not being shy about saying who he is and being proud of the relationship that you have with him. So again, get in trouble down here all day long. Just don't want to get in trouble up at heaven's gates.
Well, it sounds like you have the perspective of an audience of one, right?
That's a great mindset because there really is only one audience that you should worry about, that one person, right?
Right. So, Peter, what are some of the things that what are some of the things that you're most hopeful about as the Unity Foundation continues to grow and evolve?
I think I'm excited and hopeful of just, where we're going, that we continue to have more people that want to be part of the Unity Foundation, and they realize that it's pretty neat when you can include faith in the workplace. And so not only the leadership of that, but just the acceptance of that in the conversations that are happening. We're continuing to make traction on this is a good thing, and it matters, and it makes a difference. There's many, many times I hear that things are just a little bit different in the Alexandria area. And I know, and people on the Unity Foundation board know that, well, that's because we're not afraid of our faith and that we put it out there, and it works. And so I'm excited just to continue to help people be bold and help people live the life that they want to live and not hide it under a bushel, right? Mm-hmm. So, and just let the light shine wherever he or she is in the workplace or out of the workplace. So just some great new energy and new ideas with some people with different perspectives. And anytime that happens, good things happen. So we'll get to keep the best of the old, evolve with the way society's going, and bring in some new and creative ideas. So that's what I'm hopeful for is where I'm not hopeful. I'm just excited and optimistic is probably a better word.
Yeah, I'm excited too. It's not things we can necessarily share specifics yet because we're still kind of in the groundwork trying to figure it all out. But it's definitely going to help train and equip people to feel more confident living out their faith in the workforce.
Well said.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Peter. Any last thoughts that you'd like to share with our listeners before we wrap up our time?
No, I just appreciate the time. It's fun to be able to talk about faith, and I just am happy to be part of the Unity Foundation that hopefully allows people to do that on a more consistent basis, gives them some resources, some tools, and like I said, allows people to be just more bold and live out their faith in the workplace each and every day. And it's not just leadership; it can be any position within an organization that you have a right to let faith be part of that. And I've never seen where that doesn't turn out well. So just excited to be here and appreciate the teammates that I have, and certainly appreciate you, Kelsey, for the role that you play with the Unity Foundation. We're better because of you, for sure. So thanks for all the talents that you get to bring each and every day.
Oh, thank you, Peter. And thanks for spending this time with us.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you for joining us on Faith at Work. We hope today's episode has inspired and equipped you to live out your faith in the workforce. Don't forget to subscribe, share with a friend, and join us next time as we continue to equip you on your journey of faith at work. Faith at Work brought to you by the Unity Foundation. Learn more at unityfoundation-alexandria.com.